you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Lake George Park Commission meeting number 474. God, you people are a long ways away. Michelle, do we have a quorum? We got them all here. We got them all here. Thank you.
Is it just me, Bruce, or is the audience getting farther away?
Yeah, they are sitting farther back.
Thank you.
I can see you.
I'm just wondering if that makes you all feel better, then we're all set.
Could you squat down? We can't see the audience.
No, that's only for reporters.
It's a pretty good act, isn't it?
I like to congratulate.
Okay. Everybody had a copy of the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any additions, corrections?
So moved to accept.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Same thing with the fiscal actions report.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Project review actions report.
Resolution 2018-24. Whereas the Commission has received and reviewed the Project Review Actions Report prepared by staff and dated June 14, 2018. Whereas the Project Review Committee recommends acceptance of the Project Review Actions Report. Now therefore, it be resolved that the Commission directs that the Project Review Actions Report be incorporated in the minutes of the full Commission meeting. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the Project Review Committee's actions report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. First project on the agenda is the Class A Marina modification from Hall's Boat Corporation, Town of Lake George.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is an application to modify Class A Marina to add 2 charter vessels. Concurrent with that are 2 applications for the charter vessels themselves to be tour boats, one to be operated by Halls, and one to be operated by the Lake George Association, both sightseeing vessels. Nick Lamondo is here representing Halls to discuss the application and answer any questions you have. And also, Pat is here from the LGA if you have any questions regarding the operation of their tour boat. Thank you.
So,
Hello, everyone. Hello?
Okay.
don't worry about it.
Stand close.
I'm Nick Lamondo from Hall's Boat, right here on the Southern Basin. And we work specifically with wooden boats mostly in our marina. And we've had it for years, and there's always people coming down and want to try to take the wooden boat out just to see the experience, to see what it is. And I've put it off. So this year I decided we'd give it a shot and try it, being that we were going to have to get a new permit for the charter boat that we did in LGA last year. So that's basically what we're trying to do. We're not going to be high use. It'll be, someone comes down and wants to try a wooden boat, we have the time, we'll schedule it. It'll not be just show up, it'll be scheduled. That's basically what we're trying to do.
Is that alignment? What do you got?
No, we got a 1858 for scratch sport and 24-footer. Alarm.
Anybody have any comments or questions at this time? No. Thank you. No. Anyone else in the audience have a comment on this? You have anything to say, Joe?
No, we visited the site, Kathy and the team and staff, and everything seems to be in order. And
It's not any change, really.
no,
right?
they have plenty of parking, and the facility's always been there.
Pick a motion.
Okay. Resolution 2018-25. Approve the tour boat and Class A Marina applications. Application number 5222-36-18. M1 mod and 522-35-18 SPT and 5222-23-18 SPT. Applicant in Halls Marina and Lake George Association. Whereas the applicants have applied for permits to operate tour boats and modify a Class A marina to offer the subject tour boat services. Whereas the Lake George Park Commission reviewed the application supporting documents comments received, and other information which appears in the record. And the commission has made a determination that the project is an unlisted action pursuant to State Environmental Quality Review Act 6 NYCRR 617.5. And as lead agency for the purposes of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, has made a determination that the project will have no significant impact on the environment. The action is considered to be a major project pursuant to 6 NYCRR 645-5.3, and public notice has been published and distributed as required. The applicants have demonstrated that the activity and facility comply with the tour boat requirements of 646-1.4D and 2, and Class A marina requirements of 6 NYCRR 646-1.2B. And whereas the commission finds the project will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the essential characters of the area in which it is proposed, will not lead to congestion in the park, and will not have an undue visual, cultural, and audible impact on the neighborhood or the park. Now therefore be resolved, the Lake George Park Commission hereby resolves to approve the above application as proposed. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the application as read. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Second is another tour boat application, Captain Carl's Cruises.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is an application for a new tour boat operated by Carl Schilling. The vessel is berthed and lands at Pockman, immediately north of Falls. It's a private property with multiple residences. Schilling rents and lives at one of them, so he has access to the dock. He's applied for variance to operate from the public village docks rather than from create a new Class A marina. It has been before the village board. We got approval with it, the docks and parking and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So he's here for tour boat application and associated.
Thank you.
You just got canned, Mr. Vice Chairman.
What?
Now you say your name.
Don't need to.
Did somebody throwing, the audience throwing things?
Yeah.
We're busy here today.
Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Carl Schilling. I'm here to apply for an application to operate my boat. It's a 1956 wooden Chris Craft Sea that used to belong to Dick Bartlett from 14 Mile Island. I never had an opportunity to ride in a wooden boat until last year when I bought that boat. Restored it along with some guidance from Malls, and I use the boat almost every day if I can. I want to try to afford that ability to others who wouldn't be able to get out on the wooden boat. I own a business, full-time business that I run, 1-800-GOT-JUNK down in the Albany area. I also am a captain on the Morgan out of Sagamore. I do that a couple days a week. And I just want to add some tour boat business for myself on this wooden boat. If you have any questions?
Any questions?
How often do you anticipate taking it out? How many trips a day? How many people on the boat?
I think my application is for up to 8 trips a day. Normal operating hours from morning to 9:30, so accommodate for fireworks. There is one amendment that I'd like to make in my application. When I filled out the application, I put it for 6 passengers. I did get approval from the state parks for 8 passengers. Quite honestly, I don't think it would be more than a couple trips a day, maybe 3 or 4. I'm fairly busy. It's not something I want to do full time. I just want to afford people the opportunity to be able to do it when it's convenient for them or any of myself.
Any further questions?
That boat has to be licensed as a PV to do that?
Yes, it is. It is already residential by the state. I gave Joe a copy of the state's permit to it.
Well, you got the history of Mr. Bartlett behind it, so
I do have a picture.
treat it royally.
Yeah.
I have a
Please.
picture of Mr. Bartlett that his daughter Amy gave me, and his Dick Bartlett 14 Mile Island hat hangs inside the boat that I'm holding me and keep it there. So he rides with me.
That's good.
Thank you, sir. You have anything to say, Joe?
No, it's fine. Resolution 2018-26, application number 5222-37-18 SPT. Applicant is Carl Schilling of Captain Carl's Cruises. Whereas the applicant has applied for a permit for tour boat operation, the Lake George Park Commission has reviewed the application, supporting documents, comments received, and other information which appears in the record. And whereas the Commission has made a determination that the project is an unlisted action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act 6 NY CRR 617.5, and as lead agency for the purpose of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, has made a determination that the project will have no significant impact on the environment. And whereas the action is considered to be a major project pursuant to 6 NY CRR 645-5.3, public notice has been published and distributed as required. The applicant has demonstrated that the facility complies with tour boat requirements of 646-1.4D, except as noted below, and whereas the applicant has requested a variance from 6 NY CRR 646-1.4D, 2, and B, tour boats shall be operated from properly permitted marina facilities, and whereas the applicant has demonstrated the strict conformance with the regulations will cause unnecessary hardship due to unique and peculiar circumstances which impose substantial financial, technical, and safety burdens. And whereas the Commission finds that there is no reasonable possibility that the applicant's business will bring a reasonable return following conformance with the regulations, and the Commission finds the project will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, and will not alter the essential character of the area in which it is proposed, and will not lead to congestion in the park. Now therefore be resolved, the Lake George Park Commission hereby resolves to approve the above application, provided no substantial adverse comments are received prior to the close of the public hearing period, as proposed. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the application as read. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And the last tour boat charter operation by Towboat Lake George.
So this is an application by Towboat Lake George. Wayne Smith is the proprietor. They've made an application to modify the marina such that 2 of their existing rental vessels may be operated as public vessels or tour boats upon request by the applicant, similar to a Freedom Boat Club application we saw a month or so ago. Also, an existing charter on the lake that's been authorized by this commission, Boating with Bob, previously authorized work through Ann Brickner in Norwalk, is asking to be moved over to Wayne Smith as a seasonal berthing customer and to operate from that facility. So technically adding 3 charter vessel operations to the work.
Thank you. Is there someone here to speak for the applicant?
Yes. Morning. Wayne Smith for Towboat Lake George LLC. I'm here to ask the board to approve the application as presented to the staff. We're basically doing exactly what Joe said, leaving these boats out as rentals and being able to book them as tours as needed. The boats, as it stands now, are not PV, but they're new, and they should, I don't foresee any issues with any of that. We're actually adding 4 with the 2 tour boats, Bob, and my personal boat that I use for fishing. I want to PV that too as a backup. Sometimes I'm out there in the spring and fall. I don't run it in the summer.
Just for clarity, I think that was mentioned as being a potential replacement in case the existing towboat is down, right?
Well,
When
yeah.
it's an existing.
Yes, but I mean, I'd also like it on in my permit as a tour boat. You know, so if I leave here today, I'd like to leave 4 on my marina. I'm not, everything stays the same parking wise. It's tight in the summer, but you know, the town works with me, so I don't have any real issues that way. So if you guys have any other questions?
So does that mean when we went on Friday, the boats that were there are the boats that are going to stay there? You're not bringing another one in?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so what we saw is what we're going to get.
Pretty much. We're licensed for 25 rental boats.
Okay.
So you're taking one of these rentals and making it your
Two of the
TV?
rental, new tri-tunes.
Yeah, I saw that in your application, but I didn't see the fourth boat.
Fourth boat is a 24-foot Grady White with a 250 top, 2/4 stroke. It's in my barn.
Yeah.
It's my personal boat that I'd like to have PV. And if I'm out there while I'm fishing, I'm semi-retired from the company now, trying to set this up for the future for the kids. And, you know, if I'm out there and I can be used, I'd like to be able to do it.
So,
There's been a lot of times when you get 6 or 7 tows, you know, we have one of the largest tow fleets on the lake, and we're busy from, you know, these next 2 months.
So would that be used simply for towing or for sightseeing, fishing tours, any other charter?
I like it listed as towing, all the, you know, towing, salvage, sightseeing. You guys have put I mean, I could be wrong on this, but when you get a PV from the state, there's a whole list of stuff that's legally do. So, you know, I'm asking for the state regulations to apply to these 4 vessels, but primarily just for tours.
But
And
at
this
the,
year's gonna be slow kickoff, it is.
but at the moment, you haven't certified any of these boats as PVs, is that right?
No, just a phone call will take care of it. And of course, I won't run any of them. We have 2 PVs now that are on the lake, and my brother both run fishing charters, and Bob is ready to go. So what we have in front of us for the time being is well covered. And within a week or 2, I'll have 2 of the pontoons ready to go. And I'll invite the officers over to take a look at it and submit all the, you know, proper licensing from the state. So if I don't get the license, I don't run the boat license. I'm a PV captain, and I have 3 other people that work for me that have PV. 2 that are studying now. There are plenty of captains. Also looking for captains. Any of you guys like that part-time job? Pays very well for the area.
so you're saying that your boat is in the garage?
Yes.
It's not
Shouldn't
launched,
count.
I do not
so,
put that in
Shut up
July
and
and
stop
August
talking.
normally.
so then you will only use that and launch it as you
one?
need
Why you
it?
don't know?
Correct.
You don't have, because I was
Okay.
going to say, where would you dock it?
His
No,
application is only
I
for
don't.
3.
I
His
have
A
both
is
of
4.
my. I've had both of my
You
towboats
guys
get
just
out
gonna
once.
make him do
So
a new
the
application
phone's
and just
still
grab the
ringing,
4.
patrols are calling.
Yeah.
Application's
You know,
only for
it's
3.
nonstop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
I don't know how you
Backup
don't
for
handle
that. You're not
those.
gonna see me out there doing tours. You're just not. But I'd like to be able to have that and, you know, down the road for my kids, my nieces and nephews, when they take it over. You know, they can fall back.
Thanks.
Just before you go, I have a question for Joe. The application is for 3 boats. He has a 4th boat that he might want to substitute if one of the others isn't operating or something
Right,
like
just
that.
to be completely legal.
Yeah, I just want to, it's not in the application and permit. Shouldn't it be there?
Should we put an addendum?
Yeah, so the way I read it was I understood he was going to PV the boat, but it was going to be a replacement for an existing towboat that also provides sightseeing, you know, so kind of.
In other words, he's operating 3 boats, but he has a replacement. Is that?
Yeah, what he's suggesting now is.
You know,
that
the permit doesn't give the numbers of the boat, individual boats. It just says 3 boats, correct?
Right.
And if he wants to, so as long as he doesn't operate more than 3 boats, he's okay.
Yes, but it
Is
sounds
that-
like
But
he
it
would
sounds
like
like he
the
wants 4.
possibility to add 4,
Yeah.
which is not what.
Right, you can't operate all 4 at the same time.
Right.
Right.
I'm not going to, but
I didn't think so, but I'm trying to protect you and everything
I
to make
mean-
sure it's covered.
So I don't have to come back, or my family doesn't come back while we're here. I mean, it still fits the same criteria.
Right.
I should have talked to Joe a little bit more about this, but this kind of got caught up quickly with.
That's all right, it's all right, I understand what you're trying
But I would like to
to
be
do.
able to leave here today, that in 15 years or 10 years, if I'm gone, and my nephew or my niece picks up the boat, or picks up a boat, and wants to run a 4th charter, they can fall back on that.
He wants,
I'm trying to
he
get
wants
that to
approval
be
for
covered.
4.
Yeah, he wants 4.
Well,
I
that,
didn't fill out the application properly.
That's not
then
covered.
I'll do an amendment later.
Wayne, if you want to run an actual 4th charter, it
Yeah.
has to be authorized. If you want a 4th boat that fills in for the 3
Right.
charters, that's okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Then we'll
But
go
if
with
you
that. That's
decide,
represented in the
yeah, if
application,
you
then we'll go
decide
with
you
the
want to
trade.
run a 4th charter in the future, you need your permit modified,
Okay,
okay?
very good. That's how
Good.
I'm going.
Good. Anybody else have any questions?
No, I just think
I have a question for Joe. Without having a PV, do we put a condition on the resolution that he has to have a PV?
You
Or is
could-
that automatic?
I don't think it's necessary. He operates as a.
He can't
that's
do
a big
anything
deal.
without a PV.
Yeah.
Right.
And similarly, we've looked at seaplane applications for guys that don't own seaplanes.
Right.
So we have.
So it's okay. Okay.
No further questions? Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment? Joe?
Resolution 2018-27, application number 5220-42-18 M1 mod, 5220-41-18 SPT. Applicant is Towboat Lake George. The applicant has applied for permits to operate tour boats and modify a Class A marina to offer an additional tour boat services. The Lake George Park Commission has reviewed the application, supporting documents, comments received, and other information which appears in the record. And whereas the Commission has made a determination that the project is an unlisted action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, 6 NY-CRR 617.5, as lead agency for the purposes of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, has made a determination that the project will have no significant impact on the environment, and the action is considered to be a major project pursuant to 6 NY-CRR 645-5.3, and public notice has been published and distributed as required. The applicants have demonstrated that the activity and facility comply with the tour boat requirements of 646-1.4 D2 and the Class A marina requirements of 6 NY-CRR 646-1.2 B. And whereas the Commission finds that the project will not have an adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the essential character of the area in which it is proposed, will not lead to congestion in the park, and will not have an undue visual, cultural, audible impact on the neighborhood or the park. Now therefore be resolved, the Lake George Park Commission hereby resolves to approve the application as proposed. So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve the application for 3 boats. All. Any further questions? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the request or resolution to be the lead agency for seeker on our stormwater review. You want to read briefly why this is being done? The public anyway, briefly?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I will briefly brief the public. As the Commission is aware, for the past year and a half, we've been looking to revise the stormwater regulations, and there's been a lot of outreach for that. The Commission is now in the process of moving forward with having the resolutions drafted and presented to the state for approval and to the public for approval. One of the processes we have to go through is seeker. So in order to start seeker, you all have before you a long environmental assessment form that has been provided, identifying this as an unlisted action, and a resolution setting lead agency status as the Park Commission. And that is going to start the process, and we'll send out the lead agency letters. Is that brief?
That's brief.
You need a motion?
They're the resolution.
You want me to read the resolution?
I'll read it.
He's gonna-
This is resolution number 2018-29, resolution setting lead agency status under seeker for the Lake George Park Commission amendments to 6 NY-CRR, funny thing, 646-4. What do you call those?
I call it a statute. It's a section.
Okay. Section, all right. Whereas Environmental Conservation Law, ECL, Section 43-0122, mandates the Lake George Park Commission to develop stormwater management regulations in consultation with the Department of Environmental Conservation and the Adirondack Park Agency and each municipality in the Lake George Park. And whereas the Commission proposes an update to its regulations at 6 NY-CRR Section 646-4 Stormwater Management, which must be amended by rulemaking under the State Administrative Procedure Act. And whereas the commission proposes to commence the SAPA rulemaking process for these regulations, and whereas on June 30th, 1998, a final generic environmental impact statement for the prior amendments for the Lake George Park Stormwater Management Program was completed and accepted, and a SECRA finding statement provided, and whereas the FGAEIS provides for future decision makers to evaluate future actions under SECRA utilizing the findings and information contained in the FGEIS for that future environmental review, and whereas the Commission has determined this to be an unlisted action under 6 NYCRR Part 617, and whereas the Commission desires to serve and act as the lead agency for purposes of SECRA, and whereas to aid the LGPC in determining whether the action may have a significant impact on the environment, Part 1 of a full environmental access form dated June 25th, 2018, has been prepared. Now therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to 6 NYCRR Part 617, the Commission hereby declares that this project is an unlisted action under SECRA and accepts the EAF submitted, and be it further resolved that the Commission desires to serve and act as the lead agency for the purposes of SECRA in this coordinated review, and be further resolved that the Executive Director, staff, and Commission Council shall cause all involved agencies and any other interested agencies to be notified of this resolution, and that is a motion.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Park Commission as lead agency in SECRA. Any discussion? All in favor?
Operation Stiletto?
I'm sorry?
Can we call it Operation Stiletto?
Operation Stiletto. No inside jokes, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Operation Stiletto carried. Law Enforcement Committee report.
Law Enforcement Committee met this morning at 9 a.m. and we discussed some proposed new equipment in the form of a 24-foot boat that may arrive here from our partner in the New York State Parks, and also discussed replacing a couple of motors next year, long-term planning. The Marine Patrol, the full patrol, will begin on June 29th. So we hired a new patrol officer. And on Saturday, June 30th, will be Operation Drywater, which will be a BWI kind of
Sawmill.
And we then did go into executive session to discuss some specific enforcement actions. Come out of executive session, and I do have a resolution to read, 2018-30, whereas the Law Enforcement Committee met June 26, 2018, to review matters pertaining to the Lake George Park Commission, Marine Patrol, and come on, settle down here, Charlie. And whereas active law enforcement cases and their status were reviewed in executive session, and whereas the Law Enforcement Committee has reported on the results of that committee meeting at this full commission meeting, and whereas the Law Enforcement Committee recommends acceptance of this month's law enforcement report, now therefore be it resolved that the commission accepts the report of the Law Enforcement Committee on that report.
Moved and seconded to accept the report of the Law Enforcement Committee. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. We are down to public comments. Anybody have any public comments?
Hearing none, I would move the chairman to take a motion to adjourn.
It's been moved in second. Does anybody want to talk for a while? This is the first meeting we've ever had. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Meeting adjourned.
Does this give us a credit moving